Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
I want to say good morning to you. This is TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. You're in touch with The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller out of Washington, D.C. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm still learning.
Well, before we get to Mr. Fuller, I want to let all of our callers know that they can call in on the program to talk to Mr. Fuller by dialing 1-877-932-9766. Before getting into the program, Mr. Fuller, what inspired you to write those two great books that you put out there, sir?
Well, basically, it's one book. But one is just the second book is just an extension of the first book. The basic book is called The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. And what inspired me to write it was necessity. I wrote the first 6 pages in 1957 when I was in Japan. On a mountaintop where there was a radar site. I was with the Air Force, and the Little Rock crisis was going on at that time, the so-called integration or the attempted integration of Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we were getting some reports from there. And people were making remarks about it, just a few, not many, because there were very few people on this installation where I was, up in the mountains. It was a radar site facing the Korean coast and the southern coast of Russia. And that was what the installation was for. And there were only about maybe 200 people on the entire installation. So it was kind of isolated. So you have a lot of time to think. And during that period, I was thinking a lot about what was going on back in Little Rock, Arkansas, with the Little Rock 9 trying to get into this Central High School there. And there was a lot of opposition by the white people who did not want their school to be tainted, quote unquote, by the presence of black people. So I was keeping up with that. And I was also at the same time thinking about this whole thing about color worldwide, because I was in Japan. And I was thinking about, we had so-called World War II, and there were all kind of remarks made about Japanese being little brown monkeys, being little yellow bastards and things like that. They weren't saying the same thing about Germans as far as skin color. So I was thinking about things like that and all the other things that I had experienced dealing with racism and the whole racial picture worldwide. I was thinking on a world scale, which is why I today always tell people of color, the non-white people of the planet, when I talk, like on this program, and when I write, think in terms of this business about color, about it affecting everybody, everywhere, on a world scale. I call it the system of white supremacy. That's the term that I gave to it. It's a term that's not used very much. I've always tried to get people to use that because the system of white supremacy is the only government on the planet that really counts. You think of it in that context. most people don't think of it as in that context. They think of racism as something you run into every now and then, that you'll run into a person who is racist every now and then there's a problem. No, you have a world system, an entire world system that's dominant. It's the dominant system, not some sideline system, not some sideshow. It's the dominant government on the entire planet, correctly called, according to logic and in my observation, the system of white supremacy. It's the only form of racism that counts. Other forms of racism are really not racism. They're just conflicts between people that are under the system of racism. Racism is the only government that that dominates the people, the activities of the people on this planet right now. According to what? According to any examination of logic, an examination of evidence that you see on the planet. When you say the only government, you mean something that's dominant over all other so-called governments. There are no other governments. The government of racism is the dominant government, and that's in the form of what we loosely call white supremacy. But we should just call it the system of white supremacy. That's what I advocate. And if it proves to be in error, so be it, then I'll go along with whatever it proves to be. Because the first thing you want to do when you're trying to solve a problem is face the truth. And that's either true or false. I'm making flat statements here that the dominant form of government on the entire planet, the government that influences everybody's mind, either directly or indirectly, not only their minds, but everybody's behavior every minute of every day, is the system of white supremacy. And what is the system of white supremacy? It's a system of behavior that has to do with all 9 areas of activity. It dominates everything that people do in economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And it affects everybody on the planet, directly or indirectly, whether they are aware of it or not. It's the dominating, motivating factor. There is no other dominating, motivating factor. That's why it's called supreme. It's the supreme form of government. All these other so-called forms of government, capitalism, democracy, republicanism, independentism, all the socialisms, communism, they don't matter when you start talking about the system of white supremacy. The system of white supremacy, in other words, dominating and mistreating people based on color, which is what it is. People who are classified as white, who have chosen in all of these areas of activity to dominate and mistreat people who are classified as non-white. And they do the classifying, by the way. The non-white people may say, well, I don't even think about color. I mean, I don't even want to. I mean, what's that got to do with anything? I have other things to do. But the white supremacist says, you're going to think about it because I'm going to make you think about it. I don't care what your plans are. You are going to think about color because you are going to regard color in any move that you make, and any move that you make is going to be on my turf, which is this entire planet. Now, that's the voice of the white supremacists when they speak to people who are non-white, even though in the refinement stage of white supremacy, which is where most of the planet is right now, they don't talk that way like they did in the old days. But that's what that means, that you will think about color because you will think about it because I want you to think about it. I want to remind you that white is right and that non-white doesn't matter. That's a bunch of scraps. You're scrap people. You're a bunch of junk. you're a bunch of heathens. You're a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. You're something that I can use as raw material for anything that I want. And you are not supposed to say anything about it. And even if you say anything about it, if I allow you to say anything about it, I'll just listen to it. And if I approve of what you're saying on occasion, then you can do it. Or you can activate whatever it is you're talking about. But remember, you're a bunch of scraps. And whatever you do has to come by me in any area of activity, any of the 9. And so that's what inspired me to write the book once I began to realize that. And so I wrote a book that's addressed to the individual person that's supposed to help to counteract and eventually, I would say, swiftly, because I don't believe that this thing called racism should drag on forever. It's dragged on long enough that overnight we should try to come up with the formulas to just get rid of it and replace it with what? Replace it with a system of justice.
Justice, yes. Mr. Fuller, Jr., before we get to our caller, could you repeat the name of the book and how one can get the book before we go to the next caller?
Well, you can just go to producejustice.com. Just producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the basic textbook for thought, speech, and action for victims of white supremacy, and the additional word guide. You can get one or both of the books by going to producejustice.com. That's produce, like you're producing, like product, producejustice.com. And the method for ordering should come up on the screen.
All righty. Thank you. We now go to a caller. Go ahead, caller. You're on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.
Yes, good morning. I have 2 questions. One question is the 9 activities. Are the Jewish race controlling those 9 activities? And are they the white supremacists? And number 2, the Jesse Jacksons, the Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, are they the ones who are controlling, are told to control the black people in this country?
Okay, the first question was, is a Jewish race
the white supremacists who control the 9 activities that you are speaking of?
The answer is no, according to logic. And the reason why
because they have the most power and the most money?
The reason why is because the system of white supremacy is the strongest religion in the world. You have Judaism, you have Christianity, you have Islam, Confucianism, Buddhism. You have many different religions or religious labels on this planet among many different people. You have all kind of tribal religions. Now,
but I'm not talking about
question
religion.
would
I'm talking
be,
about money.
What is
Power
the strong?
and money.
Yes, I'm answering the question. No. The answer to that question is no. The Jewish religion, or the people who call themselves Jews, are not racist. You can't be a Jew and be a white supremacist. You can't be a Christian and be a white supremacist, even though there are a lot of white supremacists who will, what they call, light a cross and say that they believe in Christianity. And they will burn a cross or light a cross on a mountaintop and say that they're all Christians. They will wear a uniform with the cross on the uniform, with the hoods that they will wear over their faces. And they call themselves Christians, many of them, okay? And then many of them call themselves by other religious titles. But the only title that a white supremacist has is white supremacist. That's You can't be a white supremacist and be a Christian or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Confucianist or a Muslim. That's impossible. If you're a white supremacist...
So how do you identify them? Because in the entertainment business, the music business that has converted our music is owned by the Jewish people.
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. These are the words that you use universally. It's impossible for a white supremacist to practice anything other than the philosophy of white supremacy. They don't believe in anything else. Now, they'll call themselves anything. I just said that. The white supremacists will say that they're a Christian. They'll say that they're a Jew. They'll say that they're a Republican. They'll say that they are a Democrat. They'll say that they're a socialist, a communist. They'll say that they're an atheist. The white supremacists will say anything that they can get their victims to believe because they're treacherous, extremely treacherous, the most treacherous people on earth. But they will say anything. That's a part of their treachery. So you know that they're white supremacists when they mistreat people based on color and dominate people based on color. That's a giveaway right there. That's the test. Doesn't make any difference about what they say, what kind of sign they hang outside of their institutions and whatnot. Don't pay any attention to that. Pay attention to what they do. What do they do? Do they mistreat people based on color? That makes them a white supremacist if they're classified as white. Being a white supremacist means you are committed to mistreating people based on color. If you're classified as white, that makes you a white supremacist. That makes you a racist. And if you're a racist or a white supremacist, you're not anything else. That says it all. And regardless of what you call yourself, I want to see this. People often, that's what I mean by understanding white supremacy. I have it right in the front of the book, the first quote that I make. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will confuse you. And people become confused by all these other labels out here. They'll say that these conservatives are racist. What's a conservative? I mean, you know, if you're a racist, you don't need to say anything else. Don't mix it up with liberalism and conservatism. Say, well, liberals are not racist and conservatives are. Now you're adding too many words. All you have to do is just stick to the fundamental term, white supremacy. White supremacy is racism. Racism is white supremacy. And if you are that, you can't be anything else. You can't be an American. You can't be anything else other than that. This is what's different about what I write and what people are told that's out here. That the Arabs, are mistreating black people. You can't be an Arab and mistreat black people. You have to be a white supremacist and mistreat black people, or you can be an Arab that's being endorsed by the white supremacists, depending on what your color is. Then you got to get into an argument or a discussion about what is an Arab. I heard that an Arab is anybody who speaks Arabic. Now, that's a long, drawn-out argument because a lot of people will argue with that. See, so if you can't have too many terms to deal with when you talk about the system of white supremacy, I got to harp on this because this is very important. If you're a white supremacist, that's what you are. You're nothing else. You're nothing else. You're not a conservative, a Democrat, an American, an Englishman. You might speak English, but you're a white supremacist who speaks English. If you speak some other language, German, you're a white supremacist who speaks German. That's a language. But you don't belong to a country. You are a country if you're a white supremacist. The white supremacists are a country. They are a world country. They are a universal country, the only one that really counts.
Yes. You're listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard live exclusively here on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. If you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do that by calling 1-877-932-9766, and Mr. Fuller Jr. will be happy to attempt to answer your questions. We do have a caller on line 1. Go ahead, caller. What is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.?
Yes. My second question was about the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharpton, the Louis Farrakhan. Are they controlled by the white supremacists in this country?
Well, first of all, the white supremacists control the entire world and all the non-white people who are on it, on the planet. And so that would include, and I won't get into the individual names because it doesn't matter. If you're classified as non-white, you are subject to the system of white supremacy, period, regardless of who you are, where you are. And that's what you are, a subject to the system of white supremacy. That's what supreme means. We have to look at that word supreme seriously. What does supreme mean?
Are they aware of the white supremacists in this country? Are they, or do they go along because they want the crumbs that are given to them, so that they are become the spokespersons for African Americans in this country?
I'm a spokesperson. According to compensatory counter-racist logic, any black person who speaks is a black spokesperson. Any black person who speaks.
Their power, they influence blacks to be more submissive.
Doesn't make any difference. The white supremacists are supreme over all non-white people. And the non-white people who speak, I'm speaking, you're speaking, is a black spokesperson. You're speaking. They allow us to speak. The white supremacists allow us to speak. When they don't want us to speak, they kill us.
So we accept. As long as is there more acceptance among Africans towards white supremacy in this country? We accept it more as long as we get something out of it. Do African Americans accept white supremacy in this country as long as they get something out of it?
All non-white people accept whatever the white supremacists put out for them. Here again, when you start talking about white supremacy, you don't talk about countries. There's no such thing as a country in the system of white supremacy. America doesn't exist.
I'm not talking about a country. I'm saying in this country.
You said this country.
The Africans accept.
You're talking about this planet.
To them and go along as long as they're getting something out of it.
Yes, we're all getting something out of it because we are born in prison. The prison is called the planet Earth. And the white supremacists dictate to the non-white people on the entire planet Earth. We're all born in prison. All non-white people are born in the prison of white supremacy. And we are all prisoners. We are all subject to the warden of that prison. And the warden of that prison is every white person who practices white supremacy. That's the equation. If we don't look at it like that, now we are into confusion. Because that's the way it is.
So we're a big prison, and how do you break out of the prison? Through justice. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you have to eliminate the actual prison by eliminating the prison system. See, you can have a prison or building that's called a prison, but the building is no longer a prison if you make the building a hospital or a factory. And that's what we're supposed to be in the process of doing through our everyday actions as individuals. That's why I wrote my book. Through our everyday actions as individuals, we can turn that prison, which is the entire planet, into a place of justice, into the type of place that it ought to have been in the first place. But there are, in direct answer to your question, no black people are in charge of any other black person in the system of white supremacy.
All righty. Thank you very much, caller. We have to move.
Thank you.
We have to move along. we did have a caller up on line 3, but that got dropped. Caller on line. Oh, wait a minute. We might can get you back here. Wow, now they're really ringing off of the hook here. Wait a minute. We'll set this up and get you back on just a second here. If we push these buttons, it's been one of those kind of mornings, but we'll make it through here. Okay, go ahead, caller. We got you. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. Yes, my question is for Mr. Fuller is why do you refer to white people or white supremacists as being the smartest people on the planet when they use confusion and lies to deceive the non-white people of the planet? How do you equate that with being smart?
It's being smart, but it's not being wise. See, being smart, let's see, the question would be, what is smart? Smart is being able to do what you want to do, whether it's correct or incorrect, and nobody's smart enough to stop you. People who want to stop you are not smart enough to stop you. That's what smart means, being able to do whatever you want to do, whether it's correct or incorrect, and do it with other people or against other people, and the people who it's being done against say, I don't like this, but they keep going along with it because they don't know what to do. Now, not knowing is what makes you ignorant. So the non-white people, when it comes to white supremacy of this entire planet, are ignorant people. We are ignorant. Ignorant about what? About what to do about white supremacy. We're proving that. So that makes the white supremacists, by logic, the smartest people on the planet, because they dictate to all of these hundreds of millions of non-white people on the planet, and the non-white people say, woe is me, I don't like it, it ain't right, I wish I knew what to do about it, why don't somebody do something about it? Oh, Jesus, please help me. I mean, to figure out what these people are doing, because I can't stand it no more. And the white supremacist says, I don't care who you call on. I'm smarter than you. So therefore, I tell you what to do, and you can't tell me anything. And so you're going to go along with it. Now, when you become smarter than me, then that's another story. But right now, all you dark-skinned people are not smarter than me. That's why you're begging me for housing, jobs. You have your little programs and your little organizations protesting. You're demonstrating on the street about so-called police brutality. And I'll pay attention to it if I want to. And if I don't want to, so what? Because you're not smarter than me. And you don't know how to get smarter than me. So you figure it out. Because I really don't care. And I don't have to care. And you can't make me care. And you don't know anybody who can help you to make me care. So that's what smart means. Smart doesn't mean good. It doesn't mean wise. It means somebody can push you around and call you names, and you have to beg them, and they don't have to beg you to do anything because they can kick you from pillar to post anytime they feel like it, and you're not smart enough to know what to do about it.
Okay.
That's what smart means.
Okay, we'll have to leave it right there. And hang on, caller. TalkToMeRadio.com. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download TalkToMeRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. We go where you go. Radio the way it should be heard. Caller number 3 coming up next here on The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.
TalkTainmentradio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTimeRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTimeRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTainmentRadio.com.
We can give you a new heart.
We can help you walk again.
We can perform brain surgery.
We can treat a sore throat.
We can bring life into the world.
We can work so many miracles. But the one thing we cannot do is read your mind.
When you communicate with your doctor,
when you ask us more questions,
you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake.
Tens of thousands of lives are lost every year due to medical mistakes.
The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help.
Please, open up. Ask more questions.
What are the side effects?
When should I expect my test results?
Will this medication interact with my other prescriptions?
We can't answer if you don't ask.
Help reduce your risk.
Questions are the answer.
Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
Have you been diagnosed with prostate cancer? You may be eligible to participate in a clinical research study for an investigational procedure called High-Intensity Focused Ultrasound, or HIFU. This is a minimally invasive procedure. It is radiation-free, may destroy prostate cancer cells, and potentially has few side effects. This investigational procedure is performed at no cost to the patient. Call today at 1-866-619-6026 or visit www.theprostatecancerstudy.com. Have you been diagnosed with prostate cancer? You may be eligible to participate in a clinical research study for an investigational procedure called High-Intensity Focused Ultrasound, or HIFU. Call today at 1-866-619-6026 or visit www.theprostatecancerstudy.com.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks, the Ad Council, and TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
Goodwill is a global social services enterprise and the leading nonprofit provider of job training programs and career services in the United States and Canada. To pay for its program, Goodwill sells donated clothes and other household items in more than 2,700 stores and online at shopgoodwill.com. Goodwill uses the revenue earned from these sales to fund job training, employment placement services, and other community programs. The goal of the campaign is to increase goods donations to Goodwill, inspire an emotional connection to the Goodwill brand, and to elevate preference for Goodwill.
Supporting minority education. I'm Sean Booker, dammit, from The Melting Pot. I'm here to tell you that as the mother of a high school senior, I know due to financial circumstances, many of America's deserving minority students do not have access to a college education. Since 1944, the United Negro College Fund has sought to provide one. Since 1972, the beginning of this campaign, UNCF has helped more than 300,000 talented students earn a college degree. I'm Sean Booker, dammit. Give a helping hand.
For information on everything from passports to driver's licenses to local weather, go to firstgov.gov. Firstgov.gov, the official source for federal, state, and local government information.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it.
The Board of Health doesn't even know about your room. What's more, they don't care.
You know, if you keep making that face, it's going to freeze that way.
Not unless you're someplace really, really cold. Actually, a lot of the warnings moms hand out are a bit exaggerated.
If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure, not even know it, and you could die from a stroke.
But she's right about that one. Fact is, high blood pressure contributes to 200,000 American deaths each year, and a third of those who have high blood pressure don't know it. If they did, it'd be simple to treat. Call the American Heart Association at 1-800-AHA-USA1 or visit AmericanHeart.org on the web to learn more. Better still, ask your doctor to check your blood pressure.
If you run with those scissors...
It's the least you can do.
Do you overcook your pasta? Do you mix your lights with your darks and tell long, complicated jokes that have no punchline? Do you have trouble wrapping gifts, sound like a hyena when singing Happy Birthday, and have no idea how the metric system works? Well, if you answered yes to any of the above questions, you may have what it takes to adopt a teen from foster care, because teens don't need perfection, they need you. So if you can't tie a Windsor knot, forget to defrost the chicken, can't tell a latte from a cappuccino, confuse North and South Dakota, overuse commas, throw a frisbee like it's a flounder, and still believe kids really do love lima beans, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who would love to put up with you. For more information on how you can adopt, call 1-888-200-4005 or go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
You got the power.
Okay, thank you. You are listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard live and exclusively on TalkTainRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. I'm Mr. Bobby, your co-host for the program, and if you would like to get in touch with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, and he will be happy to answer your questions. We do have a caller on line number 6. Go ahead, caller, with your call.
Hello, Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. and Mr. Bobby. This is my called-in second or third time calling in. Definitely want to thank you for your insight on racist white supremacy, Dr. Fuller. I have a few questions on rearing children and educating children under the system of racism, white supremacy. First question would be, how should parents, particularly African-American parents, educate their children under racism, white supremacy? I particularly have taken one child out of the school system, and I intend on taking my other child out. But I want to hear some of your suggestions on that.
Well, I don't know about the school situation that your offspring are in, but I do know that being in the system of white supremacy, people often tell me or ask me, what do you tell young people? Because that's what we're talking about, because we're all children. So it's just a matter of older children talking to younger children, because all non-white people in the system of white supremacy are in a childlike state. So it's just a matter of what do children talk about when they have a problem? Well, they talk about their problem. And so when people ask me, what do you tell young people? You tell young people the same thing that you tell old people. You tell them the truth. But you tell them in such a way that they understand what you're saying. That's the main thing. And that would apply to any person of any age. Tell the person the truth in a manner that when you tell the person the truth, the person understands what you are saying. Otherwise, you have the one thing that you definitely don't want to have, and that's confusion. So sometimes people of any age can be told something, but they're told in such a way that you add to their confusion because they're usually asking questions. That's why you're telling them something. And so the best time to tell anybody anything is when they ask a question, because now it means they're ready for the answer. They are interested in getting the answer. So that would apply to any person of any age. When a person shows an interest in something, they ask questions about, say, for example, color. Mother, father, what I am in school and there are things going on and someone said something, the teacher said something, or the student said something, and they said something about color, or they called me a name. And so what is that about? Explain that to me. What does that mean? Because when they called me this name, everybody laughed, but I didn't know what it meant. So they poke fun at me. And why do they do that? So when people of any color or non-color ask questions, it means they're ready for the answers. So that would be the procedure in answer to your question. It's best when people start telling you about incidents or raising questions where they are puzzled. Because when people are puzzled about something, it means they want the answer to a question. And all problems are solved in the known universe through the process of questions and answers. So when a person asks you a question, you may not have the answer to the question, in which case you do have one answer immediately, and that is, I don't know, but I will do my best to find out and get back to you and give you the answer to the question. But if you already know the answer to the question, then give the answer to the question, and give it in such a manner that the person understands your answer. The person has to understand your answer. You always, when you finish talking, you'll say, now, do you understand what I just said? Do you understand what I just said? And if the person says, no, I'm more puzzled now than ever. I mean, because you haven't said enough. Well, when they say that, that's what that means. You haven't said enough. So then you go ahead and say more, and then more, and then more, because you might have to give them, in the case of racism, the whole story. You might have to take time and say, and if you don't have time, say, well, I'd have to get back to you, because sometimes when we have enough time, I'm busy right now, I'm going to sit down and tell you everything there is to know about this whole thing about race and racism and what to look for and what to expect and how it works. And then you got to, I would recommend that you haul out a few books, including mine, and start talking from these books and answering questions, raising questions yourself, and see if they can think it through. Because the main thing you want to be able to do when you start talking about racism is to teach people how to think on their feet, how to think on their own, without looking over their shoulders and have to be wondering about this and that and the other. Know exactly what's going on. So it calls for a lot of talk once the situation comes up, once these issues come up with young people or with older people, because it's an ongoing conversation with everybody, really. Why? Because racism is the dominant political and religious force on this planet.
And your second question, caller?
Yes, my second question revolved around the first, which Dr. Fuller addressed a lot of. He kind of addressed some of this as well for the second question, though. My second question was, you did mention pulling out your book, which I definitely intend to do. I guess it's more of a statement now as well as a question. Just right now, it seems like the children are definitely dominated, and I know we all are educationally under racism, white supremacy, as to what they are taught, how they are mistreated. So with pulling them out, I'm trying to find the truth on what to teach them. But do you have any other suggestions on what children should be taught? That I feel there's some things that the school system is lacking due to racist white supremacy on purpose. But do you have any suggestions on what should small children be taught as far as the 9 areas?
And thank you for your call.
About in your book.
Thank you for your call.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller, Jr.
Yes, if I understand the question, it's the same question that was asked before. See, we're talking about the second area of activity in the code, and that is education. What is education? Education is the process of learning everything that you need to know. That's basically what it is. It's an unending thing. So you're being educated all the time. Every time you learn something, every time you learn a street number that you're looking for, where a grocery store is located, you're being educated. So education, there's no such thing as an end to education. So it's just a matter of what you want to be educated about at the moment to do what? To solve a problem. Because all education is about problem solving. That's what it is. How to solve a problem. So the biggest problem among the people of the planet is the problem of racism in the form of white supremacy. So you're always being educated. And regardless of what somebody's teaching in school, you can just teach your offspring to raise their hand and ask questions in a classroom, regardless of what they're teaching, and they can raise their hand and saying, like I did when I was in the 8th grade once. I raised my hand and asked a very important question. Why are we taking this subject? I asked the teacher that. You can start off. I mean, the main thing you want to tell people to do, including yourself, is to always be seeking to know more than what you know now and to understand what you know. So you can be given a lot of facts, but you want to understand, wait a minute, why are you giving me these facts? What am I supposed to do with the facts that you're giving me? Miss Jones, Miss Green, Mr. Graham, why are you telling me what you're telling me? And what am I supposed to do with what you're telling me? That's what I would do in any class. That's what I used to do. And usually I didn't get adequate answers, but I would ask the questions anyway.
Yes.
Because what you want to do is have all people have a lot of questions, because through the process of more and more questions, the answers start coming toward the person who is asking the question. That's almost a law of the universe.
Yes. You're listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and if you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do that by calling 1-877-932-9766. Now, we have a caller on the line. Our lines have been jumping and all, so we're going to try to make sure that we get you in. So hang on, and we'll try to get you in as soon as we can. Go ahead, caller, on line number 6. Go ahead, caller, with your question from Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.
May I be heard?
Yes.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I have a question. What do you say, or what is your opinion on white people who go out of their way to try to convince non-whites that they're not a racist? They, are amongst non-whites, say in Ferguson, so to speak, and when incidents come up, they're married to a non-white, and a lot of the things that they do display racist behavior, but it's really confusing. So I just want to get your opinion on that, and then I have one other question after.
Okay. You say that the first question was a white person who is trying to convince a non-white person that he or she is not a racist, if I understand. Yes. And what do you do about that? Let them keep trying to convince you. It's real simple. Counter-racist logic is very simple. If a white person says, I'm not a racist, you just listen to them. You just say, okay, so, and you might have a question. What do we do now? Dance? Or what? I mean, you're the one who's making a statement. You are not a racist. All right, so you're not a racist. Okay, so proceed, and you just listen. And you watch what they do. See, because racism, in fact, the subtitle of my book is a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and/or action for victims of racism. So look at these three words: thinking, speaking, acting. So evidently, this white person who says that he or she is not a racist, they thought about it first. Am I a racist? That's probably what they asked themselves. I don't know. But then they spoke and say, hey, I'm telling you that I'm not a racist. Okay, all right, so you're speaking. You went from thought to speech. And the first thing you said was, I'm not a racist, and you told it to me. Well, you're telling me that you're not a racist? Yeah, I'm telling you that I'm not a racist. Okay, so you're not a racist, according to what you say. All right, now, we go from thought to speech, and you just said your speech was, I'm not a racist. Now we're going to what? Action. So, okay, go into your act. You said you're not a racist. That was your speech after you had your thought that you're not a racist. Now, where's action? Because there are requirements for a white person who says that he or she is not a racist. What are two of the main requirements according to counter-racist logic? First of all, they are not supposed to ever tell a lie to any non-white person ever. Now, this is getting to the place of what you call deracializing, getting rid of racism. When a white person says that he or she is not a racist, that's the first order of business, because a racist is a deceiver. So if you're not a racist, the first thing you have to prove is that you don't deceive anybody, particularly a non-white person. You do not engage in deception, meaning you do not ever tell a lie. You're trying to sell that black person a car, you tell that black person the truth. You're trying to sell that black person a house, you don't give them a whole bunch of double talk and whatnot and confuse the person. Because when a person is a deceiver, a person is a liar, what they're trying to do is deceive someone to someone's detriment. So that's the first thing. Oh, in other words, you never lie to a black person. You're not a racist, so that's the one thing that a racist will do. They speak with forked tongue, all right? They are experts at it. Say one thing, do another. Okay, and the second thing, don't withhold constructive information. Now, it's a long list of do's and don'ts when you are not a racist. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but those are the first two right out of the gate. Now, if a white person says that he or she is not a racist, and then 15 minutes later, 15 days later, 15 years later, tells you a lie, then that's the second lie that they told. Because the first lie was when they said they're not a racist.
And what's the third one?
Oh, the second question. Thanks for answering that question. And since the white people who are racist or white supremacists are the smartest and most powerful people on the planet, why do you think they just give us the illusion that we're free, that we have equal rights? I mean, why do they bother when they have so much power? They could just. I just wanted your thoughts and opinion on that.
Thank you for your call.
Because if you're going to dominate and mistreat people over a long period of time with ease, if you're going to do it with ease without having to stand over them with a gun all day long or beat them with a whip all day long, which they will do, then you have to deceive the person. I just mentioned deception a couple of minutes ago. That's their chief weapon. So what they do, they have to deceive their victims. They have to, in order to do what? To confuse their victims. This is why they are a master of words. They know how to talk to people in such a way that people will automatically do the things that they want done without even realizing that they are doing it. They are masters of language. They are masters of the use of words. And they use words to deceive their victims into doing things that should not be done. They get their victims to even take on values without the victims even knowing that they're taking on these values. And the values are very detrimental.
Wow. Okay, we have another caller, maybe our final caller for this morning. Go ahead, caller. You are on the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead with your question. Go ahead, caller. You're on.
Okay, yeah. This is a statement to the sister that called in concerning, about Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson. Dr. Fuller said something to the effect of, when they don't want you to speak no more, they kill you. So, and that everybody is under the grasp of white supremacy. And I think that, what the sister was trying to, to relate is a question that I brought up. That why, not necessarily why they do it, but the reason that they do it is because they are not the smartest people on the earth. They are the wisest in the slimmest trickery and so forth is concerned. Denying people the facts and so forth like that. But they aren't necessarily the smartest people on the earth.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say, I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay, Mr. Fuller Jr., would you care to respond to that?
Well, that's the gentleman's opinion. See, that comes under VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualification. Just like the gentleman who's saying what he's saying now, I'm saying what I'm saying. See, all victims have the duty to say what they want to say about race, racism, or counter-racism, since no victim is in charge of any other victim. So we're just people at the bottom of the slave ship, you might say, all non-white people. We're all equals. So we can say what we want to say about our victimization. But what we shouldn't do is criticize each other about our opinions, since no one, and the record shows this, no one has figured out how to overcome the system of white supremacy. Nobody has figured that out. Why? The evidence shows that nobody's figured it out. That's why we're having these conversations now. This is 2014. How long has racism existed? See, the person who finally does it, or the persons, then that's the time to say, hey, somebody finally figured it out. But right now, all victims, including myself, are equal to all other victims. That's why I don't criticize Minister Farrakhan or anything. I'm not qualified to do that. Or Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or any other person, including the gentleman who just spoke. I can't criticize what he's saying. He may be correct. But the evidence shows, or I might ask this question, if the white supremacists who dominate the non-white people of this entire planet are not the smartest people on the planet, then the question is, who are the smartest people on the planet, and where's the proof?
Now that's profound. And I hope that did answer the caller's question, who are the smartest people? Mr. Fuller Jr., before we close out, could you give people the title of your book, your works, and how one can get it?
Well, I give the subtitle. That's easier to remember.
Okay.
And that is a textbook, workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of white supremacy. And you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. Because justice is what we're trying to, or should be trying to produce, to replace the system of white supremacy. No point in replacing the system of white supremacy if we don't intend to produce justice.
Makes sense to me. Okay, well, to all of our callers and to you, Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., I'd like to say thank you. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.